Lisa. How are you?
Great. Wonderful morning.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you for raising your hand when I think it was the AGM, I mentioned we had this opportunity to do this Project Phoenix Rising.
Yes.
And was there anybody that was interested in supporting us or working? And you were the sole person that raised their hand and said, I will.
Yes.
And so I'm grateful for that. And I'm sure that as we develop this, things will change. You know, for those watching, we've already discussed, cameras. How many more cameras could we get in here and then have different angles? But then we require somebody to switch things back and forth.
Yes, we have to advance it a little bit more in the work so that we can get 2 more cameras and
I don't want to edit a lot. Like it would be better to be shooting it as if it's already edited, and then you can just run with it.
Yes, yeah. Well, I liked the premise is to get the word out to people to support them so they feel inspired and so they feel like they have some source to go to if they can't leave their homes or if they're far away. But they're interested in new thought or they're interested in spiritual development. What a great way to do that now. I mean, this is the way we communicate now is online.
Yeah.
Quite a bit more than ever.
Not just Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And spirituality is every day. I mean, it's every day of your life. It's every breath that you take. You're breathing in divinity, Yeah. You're breathing in, right?
Yeah.
Well, I love life.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because for me, whenever I lose the framework of my spiritualness or creator or that source of energy that I feel within me, I often think of Genesis in the Hebrew scriptures, right? I often think of that breathing in the life, right? And so if I strip it all down, I can just get to the place of, wow, I get to take a breath. Because if I don't take a breath, it means I'm dead, right?
Yeah.
Like this reality is no longer happening for me anymore.
Right.
So when I can strip it even just down to that, I can then remind myself like, oh yeah, I get to breathe.
Right. And for you, when you go and you walk out into nature or the forest, and you're walking with your dog and you're stopping to meditate, where every place is sacred, that poem that I read on Sunday about, any place on the earth could be a shrine because the divine, or as the poem said, the beloved is present with you and inseparable from you at every moment. So every moment is potentially sacred if we can see it that way. And it isn't that we don't have really traumatic moments and we don't have moments of fear and pain. But in some ways, when we turn to the light during those moments and during those times, there's a type of salvation that happens in that moment when we turn to God, or when we turn to salvation and we maybe turn it over to God or give ourselves over to God or the universe, all that is, source, great spirit, whatever word we use. In those moments when we give ourselves over to, this is what's happening right now and I need help, and I'm open to what I need to learn right now. That's when there's that, transformation maybe of the situation.
Well, there's that moment where you can notice, and then you can ask that, like, I need something, right? What can I turn to right now that's better than this experience I'm having?
Yes, yeah. And then the other thing is, what's the silver lining around what's happening? As adults, I think that we have the capacity and ability to say, God, this is terrible. This is one of the worst times in my life. why is this happening? You know, why is this happening? Is there something about this that is going to be good for me? You know, it could be a relationship ending. It could be a job ending. It could be losing something that we feel is really important to us. Yeah, I could give an example.
Okay.
So one of the hardest times in my life, interestingly, I'm sure it will be interesting to you, was trying to get Joshua, my son, to Manhattan and myself to Manhattan so that I would not be because I'm Canarican, so I could move there. I could move to the States.
I've never heard that.
Yes.
Canarican, Canadian and American.
I'm Canarican.
Yeah.
And so, at that time, my logical mind was saying it will be very expensive to keep Joshua in Manhattan and then maintain a home here. If I move there, then I'll get a job in the health system there, and then I will support him. He can live, I'll get a place. He can live with me, go to school there. I'll work there, and I have one household that I'm maintaining.
Yeah.
And I'm closer to my mom. So I had all these thoughts. Everything I tried went wrong. No matter how hard I tried to get, I was thinking about working at maybe Lenox Hill, Mount Sinai, something like that, because I've been working in healthcare leadership for many years. Nothing came through. My resume ended up having I put the wrong email address on my resume. I thought, okay, I need an American phone number because I was trying to get into the VA, to get into the health system there. And it turned out they couldn't call Canada. They couldn't call Canada if they wanted to interview me. So I gave my mom's number. My mom's, her answering machine, her voicemail died for 4 weeks. No, Lisa, nothing. I said, Mom, are you sure that there's nothing? Well, I just left you a message the other day. And she said, well, no, I never got that. So it turned out that shut down. My computer died, which I was doing all the work to get these.
So the universe was conspiring against you?
Against me in every moment. And I was just determined. And I've told clients and I've told friends, and I just love to say, if it's butter, when it's meant to be, it works like butter. Have you ever heard that? If it's meant to be, it works like butter. But if you're banging your head against the wall, it's not meant to be. But this was something that I was not willing to accept at the time.
I'm not letting this go. Well, this is perfect because we are in November. It is release.
Right. And
so this is a great example.
So, however, but I was not meant to go there because months later, just a few months later, COVID hit. And Joshua was basically among thousands of students asked to please leave. Go home.
Right.
Don't be in this city right now. And had I been in the health system there, I would be totally stuck there.
Right. So had you actually, if everything had gone the way you were thinking that it should go,
yes.
Right? There's a
in
should
spite
here.
of the fact that I had these knowing that this is, for some reason, I don't feel like this is going to happen.
Yeah. And there turns out to be a silver lining.
Absolutely. The silver lining that, I feel like God is taking care of us all the time. And sometimes our lives are an example to somebody else. Like we may go through trauma or pain, but often the trauma or pain that we go through is building us into becoming the person that we could be in this life and that we can be in this life. So trauma teaches us, can teach us falsehoods about ourselves. So trauma can teach us things that are illusions about ourselves. And it's getting past the illusion of our trauma that brings us into being a healer, a teacher, an example, someone who makes a difference for others. If you think about how many addiction counselors are recovered addicts, right? It's a perfect example. of how our trauma teaches us compassion.
Or can.
It can.
Right. Like there's what you're saying here, if I'm picking this up correctly, what you're saying is there's opportunity in here. We can swing on either side of that.
It's true.
We could go further down into creating more trauma in our lives and
others' lives.
And dark, if you want to call it the dark, we can get darker and darker in that realm. Or we can have that moment where we suddenly choose, no, there's something better for me than this. And
Yes.
that's what I'm going after.
Yes.
And then in that is where, so I just want to enter, because what you made me think of is, I want to say, David Gorgons, I think, I can't remember his name, but he's a Navy SEAL, I think. And there was a lot of trauma in his life, and he's become, pretty well known around the world. So much so that I can't even remember his name properly. But no, he's written books, and he talks about.
I know who you mean. Yes.
He talks about that fighting through the stuff that is the mess and getting to the other side, and that's what inspires you, but also then can be seen to inspire others, that people can latch onto that and actually pull themselves up.
Yes.
From your example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can I go back to something you said?
Sure.
Because this triggered something for me. So I'm trying to remember how you phrased it. You said that God is taking care of us. Mm-hmm. Something to that effect. So for me, where I know what you mean, and I know I have that thought in my head from time to time, but where that rubs up against me, and I want to talk about this, is that I don't believe in a God outside of me that is this different thing that has a plan that's taking care of me. And so I battle between this ideology of God as principle, and there's a source that we all stem from, that we're all part of, that we're all one, versus those times when I think I'm taken care of by this thing that exists out there somewhere.
Right.
And it's really hard, I find it anyhow, really hard to stay in that framework of there is no God out there. There's God it's in everything, but it's not out there. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I think that sometimes we things don't have to be this or that.
Oh.
Things can be this and that.
So two things can be true at one time.
Two things can be true at one time.
Okay.
Two things can be true at one time. So I believe that I could show up and let's say you had some sort of an accident or something, maybe on your bike, and you just needed help to get out from under that bike, and I show up to help you.
And this is random.
This
you
is
just
random.
randomly show
It's
up to help
random.
me.
It's
Okay.
completely random. But the universe, or all that is, the web or matrix of the universe shows up in ways that do occur from outside of us.
Right.
In oftentimes because we show up for each other, or we've actually had people who, some guy in shorts shows up, pulls you out of the water, and says, are you okay? Good, and then they're gone.
Right. You never see them again.
You never see them again. You don't know where they came from. Nobody else saw them. Only you saw them. There are so many stories like this, right? So because we're not alone on the earth, we are not alone in the universe.
Right.
So we're not alone in so many ways, right? And yeah, the universe responds to what we want and what we believe. And we might think that we want that job. We might go, I'm going to apply for this job. And then we start thinking, oh, God, do I really want to travel that far? I'm not sure I really want to travel that far. I don't know if they're going to give me enough money. But, but I'm going to compete for this job. But as we're doing that, the universe is going, oh, okay. Not that there's a person. It's the quantum field.
Right.
Right? The quantum field is responding to what we want at all times. So even when we fail at something, The quantum field has just responded to what we were putting out.
So so what you're really expressing here, if this is where I'm going to break, this
Sure.
is how I can understand this.
Yeah.
And I did a talk on this recently, actually,
Oh.
is the three faces of God.
Yeah. Okay.
The infinite,
Yeah.
the intimate,
Yes.
and the internal.
Yeah.
That all three exist
Can be true at one
the
time.
same time.
Yeah.
They actually all exist at the same time.
They do.
There's not a separation.
Yeah.
And on different levels of quantum, if you
Yeah.
want to put it in that,
Yeah.
all of those things are working at the same time
Yes.
to some
In harmony.
in harmony. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Funny, you just gave that talk. But isn't it funny how
But
we
I
need
forget
to,
it.
Yeah.
See, it's like
We have to be reminded.
The ego inside is like, no, don't. That works too
You
well.
know, and
forget
even
that,
like
please.
even some of our great teachers, great spiritual teachers, need to find a law. They need a law that's going to fit. You know, they need to get a, make a table, and this is the way it works. But because we're all consciousness and we're all creating reality as we go, and the universe, which is God, all that is responding to us all the time.
as we're responding to
As
it.
we're responding to it,
Right.
we can't make laws. What I love is that physics is confusing.
Right.
It's confusing to the most brilliant physicists that we have. It's confusing. They can't figure it out. They can't agree with each other.
Yeah.
Like, does consciousness create matter? Does consciousness create events? Or do events? We've actually had an article come out recently where a physicist was saying that really that the collapsing of particles in the quantum field creates consciousness. And he's absolutely convinced that it's not consciousness that affects the field. It's the field or what particles are doing that actually creates consciousness. And he's just determined. So you can see the range of these within brilliant physicists
Right.
just trying to piece it together and come up with a law.
Yeah.
But when it's life and it's live and our consciousness has the ability to impact everything, it's going to change. It's
Yeah.
going to be different. It's going to be unexpected. It's, where I don't think there is a law of physics that is going to fit for every situation. So it has to be this and that.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. So you brought up something there. So now I want to,
Yeah.
maybe we should sort of let people know who you are.
Oh,
Because
sure.
I'm not sure that
Just a person.
that,
just
that a
sitting
lot
on
of,
this stool.
Yes. There's Unity Vancouver Island. There's anybody else who might be showing this from around the world or might
Sure.
be viewing this from around the world.
Yeah.
They might not know me.
Nope.
But
Yeah,
and they
or me.
or you. So I was prepping for this morning, and I thought I'd go to your Facebook page.
Oh,
and
okay.
see what it says. And it says that you're a transcendence coach and mentor,
Yeah.
writer, teacher. I love this, project wizard.
Project Wizard, yes.
Right. And then it says details. And so this is great. Studied at Colorado State University, studied at University of Mount Olive,
Yeah.
studied at Cornell University,
Yes.
studied at Villanova University,
Yes.
and studied at Air University. And so you and I
Yes.
were laughing about this ahead of time because I was like, what was wrong with like one university that you needed all of these universities to go to? And then I was thinking, I hadn't even been to one university, and you've got like 7 or 8 on your resume. Can you just share a little bit about your scholar
My
or,
path?
or I guess your academic path and
Sure.
what all of this did for you? Because you said sometimes we need a law, right? Even the great
Yeah.
the great
They need-
mentors in the world
like,
have needed.
this is the way
I
it
need
works.
to understand something.
Or it needs to be like, if I could just like
If I
put
could-
it in a box right here, then I'll know exactly what
Right.
it is, and I can I could feel good because that's the law, right?
So is there
You
a
know?
little bit of this going on here?
No,
for you?
no. Actually, I've always valued education, and I've always wanted to learn. I've always been so curious about the universe, and I also have needed to understand what am I capable of? What What can I do? Who can I be in the world? And so I've wanted to learn, been so really curious about things. And so my first degree, I wanted to go to university so badly that I joined the military because they paid for tuition.
Right.
And at the time, I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian. So I joined the Air National Guard so that I could get 100% of my tuition paid. I had no other way to pay for my tuition. I've always worked full time and gone to school, always, after high school. So I did join, and I thought I was going to join their veterinary medicine program, and then I would come back, because Air National Guard is you're just working on the weekends. You're in the military on the weekends, and then 2 weeks a month, 2 weeks a year unless you deploy. So I thought, okay, I'll do that, and then I'll go to school. So I thought I was joining their veterinary medicine program, but I joined, and a month later, they called me in to say, guess what? We gave veterinary medicine to the Army, and the Air Force doesn't do veterinary medicine anymore. So guess what? You're an environmental medicine technician. So I said, okay, what is that? And so I went to I went to basic training. I went to technical school. And I got a couple of diplomas there, one in environmental medicine and one in veterinary food inspection and facility sanitation. So I come back, I start at the Air National Guard, and I start my pre-vet program.
Okay.
At a state-run school, because that's where I could get 100% tuition. And one semester, I take a class called vertebrate anatomy, and I have to dissect mammals, and I couldn't do it. I just didn't want to do it. I realized that I love animals from the outside. Okay. And this totally messed up my path. And so,
I don't love you from the inside.
I
only love you from the outside. Okay.
I like them when they're warm and live and
breathing.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah. So it was not I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do that. So, but here I was in the military. I changed my major because it was convenient to change I took some business classes and some computer classes and things like that. And then decided to go on active duty. As I was taking these various courses, in the military, you're building toward an associate's degree if you can apply those to a degree. So the U.S. Air Force Air University is a huge university that has multiple types and levels of degrees, and the first one is the associate's degree. Okay. And so I just kept taking classes from local, as I was active duty, to build on and finish that associate's. So I finished that, so I got an associate's in environmental medicine technology, and then wanted to get my bachelor's degree. So I was just driven to do this, and I had to do it part-time while I was active duty. And there were various programs available where we could take classes on base. And so I started with psychology, then I switched to vocational education, then I finally settled on human resource development, and I continued that, and I finally finished that degree. And it was just important to me to finish.
So did you have to go to all these different schools?
No. That was so the first one was Air University. The second one was Mount Olive University, which is where I got my bachelor's. But because I had moved a bit in the military, some of the classes that I took in California applied to the degree that I got in North Carolina. Okay. So then, so I had that, and I wanted to get my master's degree. It was just a drive for me to do that. So over time, I went to Villanova University distance to get my my Lean Six Sigma black belt training. So I got that there, and then I ended up going to the University of or Colorado State University. This is probably so boring for you guys. I'm so sorry, but then I got my Master's of Education in Learning, Performance, and Change.
Okay.
So I just keep going.
Right.
And
So you were in school a couple years ago, were you not?
yes, I finished my master's
Yeah.
in 2019, and we had a graduation ceremony in December.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that when we were on the board together, that I think you were
Yes.
in doing your finishing your master's, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's just something that I need to do. And in fact, I have this sort of life goal to get my doctorate. And I
Right.
think it was because I didn't really feel like I was believed in when I was young. When I was in high school.
What do you mean by that you were believed in? That,
When I was in the first grade, after first grade, my teacher apparently told my parents that I needed to go to summer school because I was struggling in math. And no one ever told me this during the year. I never, ever saw a poor mark or anything, but for some reason, I was now doing poorly in math after first grade, and I had to go to summer school and take more math in summer school. All summer, I went to this summer school, and we saw movies and had popsicles, and I took a math class. And it was...
how do you do poorly in math
in
grade
first
one?
grade, I know.
I don't understand
So
that,
I
but-
just felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like I wasn't smart, and I thought that my parents thought that as well, because I had to go to summer school. So that kind of carried with me as this feeling about myself through high school. And then when I started going to school for myself with my own money, I really excelled. Like, I got A's and everything, and I realized that I was more than that perspective that I had about myself.
Right.
And I wanted to see what could I accomplish.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for you, there was a healing journey for a internal belief you had.
Yes.
That if we bring this to some unity principles, the mind, right, the divine mind, the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind. In your subconscious mind was developed this idea that you weren't smart enough, that you needed to smarten up, right? And so that was driving you. Were you aware at that time, or was it in reflection now?
No, I just remember being so surprised at how well I was doing in school. But I was so driven. I was driven. I had to do well within myself. And even in the Air Force, I remember we had to study and test for promotion. And when I was testing for a promotion below the zone, which means if you were able to make that test and pass that, you could actually be promoted early.
Okay.
I studied so hard and so diligently that when I got the form showing how I scored, in my career field, I got the highest score in the Air Force.
Wow. That's incredible.
And it was just because I was so driven
Yeah.
to do well. Yeah.
Yeah, but so my question is, though, at that time, did you know that you had this story? Were you conscious? Like right now, you just told me. Hey,
I think it may be in retrospect that I
so
understand
in looking
it.
back, you can
Yeah,
see
I
there was
don't
a
think
belief system
yeah.
that was driving you along, and
Yes.
you weren't consciously aware of it at the time.
No, I don't think I was.
Yeah.
But it was this. But I was very aware of the drive,
Of the
within
desire to
the
do it.
desire within myself. Yeah.
But you didn't
Yeah.
know, you weren't sitting there going, this must stem from my childhood
No.
when they told me I wasn't smart in grade 1 math.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting that
Yeah.
how these things can push us along,
Right.
and we're not even aware.
But and at the same time, I've always been very career minded in
Right.
that, I wanted to be able to get a good job, to be able to support my son, to be able to advance in my career. So these things, the Lean Six Sigma and Black Belt are quality improvement types of certifications,
Right.
and so those apply to my work. My master's degree applies to my work. My bachelor's degree applies to my work. So it was building to me, in our generation, in my mind anyway, the education that I needed was almost like a security to support me to be able to have a good job and an income, which my parents kind of drove into me in a way, because I wanted to be an artist when I was a teenager. And they said, oh, no, you're not going to make enough money as an artist. Artists don't do well. Yeah, don't do that. And then I decided I wanted to be a psychologist, and the message that I got was, you won't really be able to do that well unless you get a PhD, and that's what made me think I needed to be a veterinarian,
Right.
because I thought I had to be a lawyer or a doctor in order to really make it in the world, but I didn't want to be either of them. So I
So animals.
chose veterinary medicine.
Until you realize that.
And then the universe is like,
No.
you're not
That's
doing
That's
that.
not what you're doing.
And yeah, so that's another way that I do believe that. And I also believe that we have guides. I believe that we have angels, guides.
So good. Let's talk about
All
that, because
right.
what's also on your profile is Transcendence Mentor
Yeah, coach.
or coach. Sorry.
Yeah.
So and I don't mean this in any kind of derogatory
is
manner. What the heck is that? Like, what if I don't have a spiritual bone in my body, or that I'm aware of, and I read that, I'm gonna be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea what that means.
Sure. Yeah.
So what is that?
So transcendence is the ability to transcend the physical and limitations, all of our limitations, all the things that block us, our financial, our where we live, our family dynamics, our education, our self-doubt, our beliefs.
So
Those
are you speaking? So if I think of everything you just said, what I hear is lack.
Well, it could
Lack
be lack.
consciousness.
It could be lack. It could be feeling confined. It could be believing the illusions that our trauma teaches us about ourselves. So in order to become who we want to be in the world, who we could be in the world, very often we have to transcend what we believe about ourselves.
Right. Great.
We have to transcend what we believe about ourselves, and we have to transcend the limitations that we think are holding us back.
Right. So the stories that we've either created or that we think are real, that are keeping us so I can't, if I wanted to move to Vancouver, my first thing would be, there's no way I can afford a place there. It's way too expensive.
Right.
And so stop. Not doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not necessarily true.
Right.
It's just where I'm at right now.
So,
and what there could be is I could transcend that story.
Yeah.
And actually find a way to be in Vancouver and make that move.
Right.
And so I need to open myself up to all sorts of possibilities that might be available to me that I'm blocking because I'm just settling on it's too expensive, I can't move there.
Right, right. So if you came to me and you said, I really want to move to Vancouver, but it's impossible. There's no way I can go. The first thing I'd want to ask you is, why do you want to move to Vancouver? So let's look at why you want to move to Vancouver. So you want to move to Vancouver because maybe, who knows what the reason is. You want to be close to your family. Maybe it's more exciting to live there. So we start focusing on what is positive about it, getting you in the feeling of being in Vancouver. Why do I want to be in Vancouver? What is it about Vancouver? And also sometimes that kind of questioning leads to, well, actually it's not Vancouver that you want. It's something else. It's something that you're imagining that Vancouver is going to give you.
Right. There's a deeper desire going on. I've mapped it as it needs to be this place or this event or this thing, but in actuality, it could be any number of things. What I really want to focus on is, what am I truly after?
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you're saying?
And it could be going to Vancouver. So
right.
let's say it's because you really want to be close to your family. So why do you want to be really close to your family? So you want to understand, what is it about that? By me asking you that, you start to feel the feelings of being close to your family. You start feeling the feelings of whatever it is about Vancouver, and you're bringing that closer to yourself rather than focusing on, I can't go because I don't have this and I can't do that and I don't have enough money and it costs too much there. And all you're doing is, because of the quantum field and because the universe responds to whatever we're telling it we want, because that's what we're thinking. Then you're just focusing on that, on the lack, as you would say. Mm-hmm. So as you open yourself up to possibility, so the art of the possible is brilliant. Now, lawyers love the art of the possible, and it's a totally different thing when you use it in legal terms, because the art of the possible in legal terms is that the lawyer creates, is it possible? But is it possible? Is it possible that it might have happened like this?
Right.
The art of the possible from a lawyer's
perspective. So they're trying to break down an argument by showing that there could be something different.
We're setting that over here. We're talking about metaphysically the art of the possible.
Right. Okay.
When you start thinking metaphysically the art of the possible, like, wow, is it possible? Is it actually possible? Could I go? Is this possible? What? Somebody else did that? They did it like that? Oh, maybe it is possible. So when we're working on ourselves and we're working on transcending our limitations, the art of the possible is very powerful. It's like not believing that you, like having no concept whatsoever that you might have a spirit guide, right? And then you start hearing stories of people talking about their spirit guides, or you start hearing what can happen when you're working with an angel or a spirit guide or whatever you want to call this consciousness that is supporting us. Because, anyway, I won't get on that. Sorry, I'm just totally about to go into left field. I won't do that.
Okay, no left field.
No
right
left
now.
field. No
okay.
left field. So there you go. You start opening your mind to what is possible, and then you draw that to you.
Okay. So here's what I'm seeing in what you just explained, and thank you for that, by the way. That I get a good picture. So I'm going to bring this back to my unity beliefs,
Great.
if I can. So I have a story that is preventing me from whatever it is that I might desire. As I unpack that and get to the heart of what I'm truly desiring, I then have the opportunity to let go, release, right? And so this is great because it is November and this is the month of release.
The month of
I
release.
have the possibility then to release the story, the lack, the whatever, however you want to frame it, the victim consciousness, whatever it is that's going on.
Yes.
And in that moment of letting go, the opening presents itself. And in that opening, where there's nothing, becomes the art of possibility.
I love that you said where there's nothing, that moment of nothingness where you then create from there.
The art of possibility, because
Yeah.
I always think of emptiness like space as a vacuum.
Yeah.
It wants to be filled.
Yeah.
So I need to create the space for whatever it is I want in my life to show up for me.
Yes.
That's how my
Yes,
brain
and
works.
and it isn't just creating empty space. You've got the empty space, but then you've got to insert the empty space with faith, hope, and imagination.
Yeah. All those things are going on if you're. Yeah, I know what you mean, and I look at it like. So there's faith. Well, faith is a little bit different in that for me. Like I have to believe.
We'll say belief then
Yeah,
instead of belief. Belief, hope, and imagination.
Yeah. I believe that things are going to work out for me.
Which some people call faith.
Yeah. No. I was trying. I don't have a problem with the word faith. I was thinking it in terms of the art of I really love the art of possibility.
The art of the possible. The art of the possible.
That my faith is actually in the fact that things are possible.
Yeah.
Right. And I also think, and so I love this. So I also feel like if it wasn't possible for me, I actually wouldn't think about it.
I love that.
Like, I don't think about being a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't ever think like, oh, I could go do that.
Yes.
Because it's not real. There's no chance that I'm suddenly going to be a head coach in the National Football League at the age that I'm at.
Yeah.
And with absolutely zero playing time in the world of football.
Right.
So it doesn't occur to me as a possibility.
Yes.
At all.
Yeah.
But everything that does occur to me as a possibility, I actually could achieve.
Yes.
On some level.
Yeah. Because you're creating your reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what there is to do, if we go back to your transcendence, which I love now that I understand transcendence, Coach, what there is to do is to transcend my own stories around why it is possible as well as why it's not possible for myself. To really embrace the whole bowl of possibility on both sides, what's not and what is.
Yes.
And to understand it and then I think so, and let me know if this is true, is that after you sit in all this, then the reality might show up where you go, you know what, that's actually not what I want.
Aha. Excellent.
Right? Like you could actually end up in the place of, now that I've done all this and I've explored it and I've looked at it from all these sides, it's not actually what I want.
That's right. There's actually a part of me that wants to stay here.
Yeah. Or wants some, or I've now discovered it's something different.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this is just a side note, and this has to do with communicating with your angel or spirit guide. And I remember there was a time when I was thinking that I need to be painting, and I was buying all kinds of material and like paints and brushes, etc. But I would never get around to doing it, and I was just so frustrated. And it felt like, you know, like I needed to be doing it, and something was getting in my way. And I asked one of my guides, and I said to him, and I said, "Why am I not painting?" And he said, "Because you don't want to."
So it's like you had an illusion that you wanted to paint, but
like I'm supposed to.
But really you didn't.
Which was, what do you say to that?
Yeah.
Because if I really wanted to, that's exactly what I would be doing.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to do other things that I would rather do.
Yeah.
And it's just so, you know, simple, but...
Yes, and I also, so I get that when I look at my own, like my whole life just flashed before my eyes, and I can see that, but I can also see that sometimes I have to dig in and motivate myself to do the work that I do want to do.
I was looking for a deeper answer, like, well, you're afraid of this, you're judging yourself or something like that. And maybe at times that has come into play, but at that particular time when I asked, it was a simple answer.
Yeah. So let me give you an example of what I'm thinking about here, because what we're doing right now, I love.
Oh, great. Me too.
I could do this all day long. Bring in people and let's sit down and have these conversations. Sure. I could do this all day long. But some days I don't feel like it because I might have to set up equipment. I have to deal with other things. I got other things going on in my life. But I know in my truth it's what I want to do. So sometimes I actually have to force myself to go get it done.
Yeah.
And then when I do it, I feel really good about it.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to, so I think somewhere in there too is there's a little bit of sometimes we have to push through our own BS.
Yes. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I totally
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. So there you go.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
To be
Is that
continued.
helpful?
Yeah,
To be
I think
continued.
to be continued.
Okay.
I'm kind of like, that was great.
Okay. Fantastic.
Anything
Is that
for
helpful?
you? Yeah, anything
No,
left for you?
it's a huge pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who has joined us and listened in. I hope that was helpful, and yeah, it's I would just think I need to say one more thing on transcendence, and that is that you are highly capable. You are highly capable of becoming what you desire to be. And we all are. And we have to follow those desires. And a big clue around what we have, people tell me sometimes, I see somebody else doing something and I feel jealous. I get jealous about that. Well, jealousy is something that we might beat ourselves up about, but it's actually a clue. It's a clue.
Right.
It's the universe or your internal self or your higher self or the God within you saying to you, showing you that that's what's something you want to do.
That's something that interests you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go, oh my goodness, I wish I was there. I wish I was doing what that person is doing. You know what? There you go. That's a breadcrumb right there to follow.
Wow. Thank you. I
Yeah.
love that. You actually just made me think of something too that I'm curious about, and I'm going to ask, why unity?
Why unity? Well, unity for a long time has been the closest thing that fits for my my spirituality here, and even more recently, though, unity has, in some of your talks and Patricia's talks, unity has almost expanded to the point where I see myself and I see my thoughts and I see my way of thinking about the universe reflected in what you talk about and what Patricia talks about. And yeah, so I feel it's hard to put into words. It's like it's okay to put my consciousness, my energy here in this place, because it's growing all the time.
Right.
And it is growing and expanding.
Yeah.
Always.
We are a center of light and love.
Yeah.
Growing and expanding.
Yeah. Wait. What more could you ask for?
Yeah.
For that there's this open-minded understanding, and love is at the center of all of it. Love and acceptance is at the center of all of it.
That's
What
awesome.
more could you want?
Thank you. That makes